to host you, Ash. Um, so Ash is a three times CMO in B2B companies, with amazing companies like Informatica. And I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so first and foremost, thank you for having me. She didn't work for me. In fact, I'm not sure she liked me too much, but the moment I met her, I said, okay, this is someone I want to work with at some point in time. I'm thrilled to be working with you, for you, and serving for this awesome cause. The reason I think, attracted to this whole thing was just the one line that Mala shared with me the first time we met, that this is about women. And I have two powerhouses, two women in my house, and you know, adore them. That's a life, and they have actually got me where I am. So for me, it's my way of giving back in a particular way, starting with my mother, my sister, my wife, my daughter, and all the powerful women out there. Being a CMO, I also take pride in basically sharing that a majority of people working for me, whether it is planned, unplanned, it never is, are predominantly women. And it's so important to be sensitive to, the work-life balance that you have to actually adjudicate as a CMO. And I take that to heart. I really don't care whether you clock in at 9, you leave at 5, just get your work done. That's all that's important. So for me, this is sacred, this particular thing that you're doing with the Founders Creative, and thanks for having me. As far as being a CMO, I shared it with one of my newly formed friends here in the audience. I'm an accidental CMO. Never thought I'll be a CMO, never thought I'll last this long. And we'll go into this in a bit. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to hear that you value representation, and it's really positive and encouraging to hear you say that. Thank you for that. Um, I would love to hear more about your CMO journey. How did you get there accidentally? But also, you're one of the few who lands up lasting the job. I think it's a tough job. I don't know if you guys have worked in marketing, but you basically are responsible for lead generation, and when the sales deal is closed, the sales guy says, "I won the deal." And if it's lost, they say, "Well, marketing didn't deliver quality leads." And so that's kind of why I never went up the rungs beyond VP, senior directors. Like, I'm just not going to sign up for it. But you have succeeded there. How did you write that? And how do you continue to write that? Where you are able to track revenue against marketing and consistently prove that.
Yeah, so let's start with my journey, right? As I said, I'm an accidental CMO, and there's a reason for it. When I started off, like you, I came from engineering. Obviously, I went to business school and started out there. I started coding. I suck at coding, so which is why I had to find something else to do. I meandered into product management. But to the point that you made, I mean, look, you may build the greatest products, but if no one knows about it, it's a big problem. But there's another angle to this whole piece around knowing your products, or being in marketing. Everyone in the world is a marketer. I think I have my friends here who are CMOs, very, very well reputed CMOs, and some of my colleagues here as well. They'll agree. Everyone in the company is a marketer. Why is that? It's because it emanates from human psychology, right? I either give a thumbs up if I like something, or a thumbs down if I don't like something. And that's the basis of marketing, right? You really need to connect with the person that you're selling something to and the message that truly resonates. So for me, it was fine. I'm building great products. I'm doing great product management for these products, but who's actually representing it in the way it needs to be done with the end customer? That's where my foray into marketing started. I was a bit reticent because for me, marketing was all about fluff. It was all about branding, putting colors on Formula One car that really doesn't go anywhere. There's a time and place to do that. Don't get me wrong. But that is not why someone buys. I never buy things like that. I'm a CMO. I get tons of emails from vendors. Either goes into a special box that I mark friends of CMO, or I just pass it on after if you appeal to me, I pass it on to someone who actually is going to do the due diligence. So to answer your question, my foray into marketing started out with, can I actually change the game? Like you had a mission,
Mhm.
right? I wanted to change the game. First of all, I wanted to make sure that can we lead with data? Can we lead with analytics? Can we really make sure that we know the customer well? So the very first area that I started off in marketing was product marketing, because I knew the product and I wanted to market it well. But again, with that comes a slew of problems, like she just mentioned. Well, can you actually build the pipeline? And is the pipeline correct? Is the pipeline enough? And the point she was making earlier, if you don't have enough, it's your fault. If everyone does well, it's sales' compliment, which is absolutely fine. I'm happy to live by that. So I think you need to be successful in marketing, you need to have a thick skin, you need to have tenacity, and you also need to have that curiosity about, if you're succeeding at something, don't stop and say, great, I've done a great job. Keep diving deeper and find out, could you do another 5% better? And that comes with the data. And happy to go into these details.
Would love that. To hear more about that. What are some tools you use to track the data, and what about the process itself, the marketing process, and what are the different tools used at every stage, starting from SDRs possibly till deal close?
Actually, let's start with the customer.
Mm.
And that's where I like to start all the time. Do you know that about 70% of the buyer's journey is done before the customer actually meets the vendor or connects with the vendor? That's one problem. I'll also show you another problem, and the third one is the worst and the most important. Second problem is only 5 to 6% of people are actually in an active buying cycle. So while you have your 200, 300, 1,000 salespeople out there actively wanting to sell something, only 5% of the target audience is ready to buy. What does that mean? So you don't do anything for the rest of the 95%? Are they not going to buy? You have to make it your job to make sure that you're always selling, always influencing, truly understanding the customer well, so that when they are ready to buy it and ready to buy from you. Till then, be the elegant marketer without being in someone's face, provide value, provide the right kind of content so that they know that you are the trusted partner to buy from. Now, here's the third and the most important and scary fact. Has anyone heard about the dark funnel? Except for my CMO friends. The anonymous buying cycle, the dark funnel.
I haven't. I'd love to hear about it.
Okay. You and I are part of the dark funnel. We are always researching to buy something, right? I know my wife, she's always trying to buy new shoes. Oh my God. I mean, Mother's Day is coming up. I'm going to be poorer by God knows how much, but she's constantly in the shopping cycle, right? To buy something. However, the vendor doesn't know that she is a potential buyer. Because what happens, especially in B2B, in large scale B2B enterprises, I, as a buyer, am never going to click on a form. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to watch demos. I'm going to talk to my peers. I'm going to talk to analysts. Before you know it, before the vendor knows it, 70% of that decision is made. And that's what I call the dark funnel. So while a lot of companies actually spend their time on, okay, let's create webinars, let's create this, let's create that, they're missing the point that the most amount of work is happening outside that bubble. That's what I call a dark funnel. So you cannot just count the number of leads. You cannot just count the number of MQLs anymore. It's actually intent and propensity, which is where, let's go down this path whenever you're ready, is AI and AI-centric technologies that are actually understanding pre-intent, not just intent, but pre-intent, and mapping that to what you do. So it's about first-party data as well as third-party data, and happy to dive in.
So, would love to hear more about that intensity and propensity. So, and also, you were drawing an analogy to a person who's shopping for shoes, which is something I don't know if all of you do. We're constantly looking for stuff to buy. There you go, Phil does it. But I don't know if I would do that for B2B products. Like constantly searching to see if I can replace my CRM.
I am.
You
It's
are?
not the core products. Here's the problem. You're not constantly looking to replace your CRM. You're not constantly looking to replace your Marketo. What you're doing is to add fringe solutions which help you get more out of what you're already doing. I'll give you a couple of examples. I have a set of SDRs. I've got 10, 12, 13 SDRs. Can they be more productive? Okay. My sales reps, they only have a finite set of hours in a day.
Right.
How can I help them go ahead and prospect better? It's almost like leading the horse to the water. How can I actually get people to the water and then allow them to drink on their own, right? right? So that's where these tools come in. That's what I meant by intent and propensity. There are two types of intent, right? Intent signals, right? One is intent and pre-intent. Intent is when I put my hand up and said, yes, I want to do something with you. Examples: come to your website, ask for a demo. That's intent.
Right.
Pre-intent is when I've been researching you, when I've been researching for products like yours, right? Talking to analysts, talking to peers, talking to others, doing my own research. Now you just go on Google, it comes up with a little blurb and says, these are the kind of tools and technologies that you should be researching. These are the top three. This is what you need to do. I've already done my work. I've done my research. You need to be adding those two things up: pre intent with intent, right? Along with first party data, which is your own data. When you visit my website,
Right.
and you do certain things, I can do a reverse IP lookup and understand who you are. Map that with the third party intent data. You have a case to be made.
Interesting. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
Think about capturing pre-intent buyers.
that's exactly where the world is going. That's the dark funnel that I've basically mentioned, right? So simple. I'm in cybersecurity, right? You can either, you've got to answer these two questions. Is someone looking for a cybersecurity solution? Or is someone comparing solution A with B and C? That is pre-intent. That is actually giving a little bit more information about the problem that someone is actually trying to solve versus, okay, a very generic kind of a thing that someone is looking for. So that is a dark funnel. That is a dark data that I'm looking for, like social sites, Slack, conversations. These are the things that power decision making.
So, what are some tools that you use in order to analyze this data? And I just think that it's just too many marketing automation tools at this point. How do you filter through it to arrive at what the right solutions you want to choose?
You said it. There are too many,
Yeah.
and it is a problem, right? There are too many tools in any area. So I think what's really bubbled to the top. And again, look, I'm not promoting a technology or whatever. I've just found that these are decently good tools and useful, and they'll constantly be churning. You'll get better things out there. But I am impressed by a company called ShiftUp, right? So what do? They bring in pre-intent data, map that with intent data from a tool like Sixth Sense or Demandbase, map that with first party data, which comes from my own website, from my own technologies, like using Qualified to actually pull out intelligence from website chats, for example. Of course, bringing in the intelligence from Marketo and Salesforce and other things, which are going to tell you who's visited your site and doing what with you, right? These are all the technologies. I love Gong, for example, because it allows my SDRs and sales reps to become a lot more powerful. Why? Because it's constantly listening on the conversations that are going on with the customer, and you may have missed a nuance that the customer has actually talked about. That bubbles up and makes it more actionable. The whole point is we have a finite set of hours in the day. How do you make sure that you can use intelligence and AI to derive the most out of the data that you see and you do not see?
Very interesting. And well, again, how did you filter through all the automation tools that are out there to arrive at ShiftUp? Did I get it right? Yeah.
Great. So it's a fantastic best practice that we have made sure that we incorporate with every single marketer at the company. You need to spend 10% of your time every month piloting a new idea, a new tool, a new technology.
Very
That's
cool.
innovation.
I love it. Awesome. Yeah.
Does in engineering, in R&D, we have our hackathons, we have
Yeah.
all these other things. Why doesn't marketing spend that time, actually put that time aside and the budget aside to be looking at these? Which is why when you mentioned, are there new tools that replace the Marketos and the Salesforce? No, but these are the fringe tools. These are the additives that complement and constantly take advantage
Love
of
it.
your
Love,
core
love that the
tools.
team is on it.
Yeah,
It's
they are.
not typical of a marketing org to do that. How do you justify the returns of ShiftUp? I would think, I don't know about your current
Yeah.
founders and CEOs and executives, but I would think that would be really hard for a lot of people to understand unless they've thought deeply about marketing. How do you justify the costs of that? Can you actually directly tie it to revenue?
Absolutely. And that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
So some examples. I actually paint a picture of the befores and afters, right? Hey, you were trying to go after, in our case, we are a cybersecurity company,
Yeah.
right? Our ICP, our main buyer, is a chief information security officer. Guess what? That is one of the most secretive and quiet buyers in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's about cybersecurity. You never know when they are researching you. They will never tell you, and they will never fill a form. So for me, ShiftUp is a great opportunity, and other tools like that as well, because I know before that person actually fills a form that you actually have potential interest in me.
Interest in you, yeah.
Right?
Awesome.
So to translate that into sales, if I show a pilot and show that 10 CISOs have actually kind of shown pre-intent and map that with the signals on my website, reverse IP lookups, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
I have a case to be made that please go to these 10 and talk to them about what we are offering.
Interesting. Very cool. Yeah. Tell us more about what AI has done for these tools, but also for your job on a daily basis.
It's a double-edged sword. Okay, so I think maybe I'll frame the question slightly differently, especially to my friends who are CMOs or marketers getting started. The AI bubble is such an attractive bubble. Without having a foundation of strong data and analytics, do not embark on this journey of the shiny new toy, the glittering object, because you are going to fail. If you do not have faith in your data and you don't have a foundation of great analytics, you're not going to be able to build on it. That's the very first thing. The second thing is foray into AI, right? To answer your question, well, AI is AI. I mean, I've worked for companies like Informatica and Druva and Trellix and now Absolute, etc. We've all come from a progression of AI, right? We've all used machine learning. Then there was AI. Then there's Gen AI. There's agentic AI. We've all been using this. There's some form of intelligence always been there. But for me, what I really like to get is the signals out of the data. Is the data talking to me? That's where I'm using AI, right? Anything that can help me do my job faster with more productivity, especially with the time shrinking and more effectiveness, showing me the right kind of signals that can translate to dollars, that's where I'm going to invest my time.
How is the CMO role changing?
I guess it's always changing. It always has. If you remember, and that's one of the reasons I said I was an accidental CMO, right? It's changed a lot from just being someone who's been a brand king or a brand queen, you know, really strong in making sure the word goes out about your brand, to someone who's really data driven now. And that's my sweet spot. I mean, I've spent a good number of years, about 12 to 15 years, in both product marketing as well as 12 to 15 years in demand gen, trying to master two out of the three pillars, right? One
Yeah.
is brand, one is product marketing, and the third one is demand gen. To be a good CMO or effective CMO, you need to probably master at least two.
Right.
And you can get away with, understanding the third and leveraging the right kind of people for it. So for me to basically the CMO role has changed a lot to become a lot more data driven. You are going to be put in front of the board, and the way I work is I first think of myself as a business owner, less a marketer. The
Mm-hmm.
moment you put that hat on, you're going to be less about was it sales who is bringing the bringing in the bacon versus marketing. Am I being effective or not? It's first the company, then you basically roll into the job of, hey, listen, I'm bringing so many leads in, or I'm doing XYZ with marketing. I think that's where the marketing role has changed from being more of someone who's, stuff piped in one little silo called marketing, now being a little bit more broader, owning the business, owning growth, owning scale. That's what it's about.
What about what's your advice for founders?
Great, excellent, and mostly in marketing,
Yeah,
or
on marketing, right?
so.
Founders usually don't have a lot of budget for marketing. It's very founder led sales in the beginning just to be able to establish product market fit, right? So
Yeah.
they're doing the job of marketing and sales. Um, how do they get beyond that first, $1 million revenue traction?
I've worked for founders. I've worked for different sizes of companies as well, and I know you and I have spoken about this. One taking a company from about $450 million all the way up to about 1.4, gone private, gone public, re-IPO'd, sold again, then joined a company which was really small, went from about 150 million all the way to about 300 million, then joined a $2 billion company,
Yeah.
made sure that it continued to grow, and then now at about a $350 million company. So I've tried to do all the journeys. So the advice I have for founders is, one, make sure that you have a little bit of a softer hand with the marketer that you have faith in. And here's why. I've done some founding myself with other initiatives. And when it is your own baby, you will remain very close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Hire a marketer who's first a data geek rather than someone who knows how to actually get, basically, paint colors on walls and on F1 cars, etc. That's not where your sweet spot is. Know your ICP really, really well. Investing in understanding your audience. Keep tweaking your message, because you do not know, when you're that small and when you're growing, you do not know which is the next opportunity that is going to become the next big thing for you to grow, right? So you have to keep changing and shifting your message and testing it out. So you need someone who's got a little bit of a product sense and a little bit of a product marketing hat. And the third thing is someone who's a data guru. If you don't own the data and the analytics, again, to keep changing, hey, listen, this is a demographic of people who really this particular message is resonating with. This is what we can do more with. This is how you keep changing things. And please don't go down the AI bandwagon without having a foundation of great data and analytics.
Fantastic.
Especially since the onset of ChatGPT and agentic AI, etc. You and I don't need to actually go to a company's website anymore, right? You type in best solution for XYZ for data-driven analytics. Boom, you'll get a whole page of stuff. You're actually not going to a company's website or solutions website anymore. You're using that as your starting point. That's the start of the dark funnel, right? That person who researched or did that research would most likely never even come to your website. So what happens? You are not going to get a form fill. Every single good website is going to have take a demo, call us up, contact my sales, but you missed the boat because this person's already made their distinction and their decision before even talking to you. That's point number one. Guess where that person goes next? And I'm just taking you on a journey, right? I'm going to obviously go to watch a video on YouTube or somewhere else. Hey, how does this thing work? And I'm going to compare 3 or 4 videos of the solutions that were recommended by Google. Yeah, here in the Google offices. So yes, obviously. Once I do that, I'm going to go to my next level down, my VP of marketing, and say, hey, test these tools out. You have yet not met with me, but I'm your invisible sponsor in a way, right? And I'm talking to my peers. I'm talking to CMOs at other CMO hacks or whatever that might be, huddles. I'm asking them, have you actually run into this product? That's when I know that, okay, you know what, this is worth investing in. That's the dark funnel, is the funnel you will never see, and the funnel that never ever fills a form. But it's there, it's rampant, and it's bigger than the funnel that you see. That's the conversation around pre-intent. Those are the kind of tools that I believe are going to be amazingly big game changers and game shapers in the industry going forward. And it's all powered by AI.
All right. So, what's winding it down? What's one misleading marketing metric?
MQLs and leads. I've abolished the use of MQLs in my company. We call them hand raisers now. So whether it's pre-intent or intent, if someone's raised their hand and given you an indication that something's happening, that's more important to me than an MQL.
Very interesting. I wish I could see the dashboard you use on a daily
Sure.
basis. Okay, one GTM principle you never compromise on.
Everyone's a marketer. Honor that. Let them market. It's like crowdsourcing great ideas, but also have your point of view, lead with the data, and most importantly, make sure that sales wins. It's not about you. When sales wins, the entire company wins.
That's true, yeah. Best advice you received as a CMO?
I'd go back to the previous one. Maybe I'll add one more. Think like a founder, think like a business owner, because once you have that hat on, it's less about your metrics, it's more about the business metrics.
And if not marketing, what would you be doing?
Oh, the best question of the day. I would have turned a tennis pro. I love my idol Roger Federer, so I'd probably wanted to be someone like that. But just like my coding and my engineering, I'd probably have sucked at that as well. But I would have enjoyed my journey.
Wonderful response. So thank you so much. Big round of applause for Ash Parikh. Thank you for making the time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.